Welcome, my friend, to the Keeper of the Home podcast. Thank you for joining me. Whether you're on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform, I am so grateful to have you here. I am going to take a gamble and assume that sometimes you feel like your home is messy. And if having a messy home can be a stressor for you, guess what? You're in really great company. So I want to show up here today and just get you thinking about it. And rather than letting a messy home just kind of consume us and overwhelm us, let's talk about ways that we can actually cope with a messy home. Because we all know life is messy. So let's explore the possibilities that maybe we could actually learn to enjoy the mess. Now, before we dive in, I love to share a few housekeeping items with you. Can you believe November is upon us? I am just kind of maybe in denial, but here it is. And we know what that means, that the holiday season is upon us as well. And I wanted to make sure you guys know that I have some incredible and beautiful linen stockings on my tidbitsandco.com shop. So if you're on the market for stockings, if you want to maybe purchase some this year that are more like heirloom quality, I've got your back. So my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law have actually made some incredibly beautiful linen stockings for my shop. We have a quilted variety or a non-quilted. They are 100% pure linen, 5 different colors, inside and out, all linen. They are so beautiful. So if you want to check those out, go ahead. And I do have to tell you, I am going to discontinue these items after this year. And all we have in the shop is all we've got, and we won't be stocking anymore. And I've discounted the price for that reason. It's just one of those items that is maybe a little more intensive to make than we can keep up. So if you want to grab these, grab them now, because they will be gone fast and they won't be coming back. So wanted to make you aware of that. And of course, because it's November, we know that the new year is also upon us so soon. So make sure you get your planner. If you're looking for some planner pages that will work for you, definitely check out my Tidbits Day Planner. We've got the 2024 planner released this year. It is in a printable only format, but it's awesome because it's a more affordable option and you can bind it how you want. So please check those out. I did a whole podcast last time about planning, so if you want more information, check that out. Or I've got videos on my tidbitsandco.com shop walking you through the planner pages. So lots of information for you to learn more about my planner that I have created for us busy homemakers. All right, and then this one's kind of a leave you hanging thing, but I've got something in the works that I'm so excited about for my newsletter subscribers. It's a freebie I want to deliver every single week. I'm not going to tell you quite what it is yet, but you're going to want to make sure that you're signed up for my newsletter. I send it out every Sunday morning. And just let you know what new tidbits I have, but I have something really exciting in the works. So make sure you're signed up. I will leave a link for that sign up in the description or show notes. So you can go click over and do that. And then just never miss a new tidbits that I share with you. All right, let's talk about that messy home, shall we? Now, did you guys know I actually make these podcasts for me, not really you? A lot of times I'm seeing something in my life that I could use some improvement on, or I just need to maybe think about further, and it becomes a podcast idea. And it's so helpful for me to just dive in to topics that I actually want to work on and then just share some thoughts with you. And this topic in particular, how to cope with a messy home, is definitely one that I need to work with. So I have just compiled all my thoughts, thought through all the years I've been housekeeping, and tried to remember the things that have helped me cope when those really big feelings of stress and overwhelm come due to a messy home. So just know going in, everything I'm sharing with you is just kind of based on experience, my experience, and I'm hoping more or less just to get you thinking about it and becoming more aware of how you might be able to cope if you're stressing about this as well. Now, first, I really want to get this out here. We have to recognize that the term messy is relative. Your messy is going to look quite a bit different than my messy. Your capacity to handle a certain level of mess is different than my capacity to handle a certain level of mess. So please keep that in mind and keep your tolerance of mess in mind only. Don't think of anyone else's but yours. And I just have to say, none of these thoughts that I'm going to share with you are really that novel of ideas. Let's just get this topic out in the air, thinking through it so that when you need to have some tools to grab, that you have them and you can think about them and work through this. But I want to give you a little word to the wise here. If at any time in the podcast you start envisioning someone else's house or comparing your home to someone else's house, please stop. Stop yourself right there. We cannot compare our capacity or our tolerance of mess to anyone else's. And I think, I don't know, as keepers of our home, the home is so personal, and it can be easy to maybe remember that when you went to a friend's house, she was all frazzled and apologizing for the mess, and maybe you looked around and thought this is not messy, and so then you start comparing your own. Or maybe your home feels messy and you're imagining what your mom might say about this. Or it's even possible that maybe you've watched those hoarder TV shows and you're thinking, oh, my house isn't messy at all, when in fact it could use a little care. So anyway, I think the thought or the sneaky idea of envisioning someone else's home and comparing it to yours is a tendency that might happen as we're talking about this. So I really just want to get that out there. And please stop yourself right off the bat if the idea of anyone else's house pops into your head. Okay, we're talking about your home, your mess, and your capacity. So stay right there with me. Okay, so let's put ourselves into the position where we're viewing our messy home and we're feeling overwhelmed. I think first things first, we're going, woo-woo here all the way, but let's first take 10 or even 5 deep breaths and just calm our state of being down. It really is so helpful. We can't be reactive to our messy home, or I don't know, if you're like me, you can end up flying off the handle, yelling at everyone around you that's making the mess, and becoming the person that you don't really want to be. So just, if that is the only tool you have in your tool belt for dealing with a messy home, it's just 10 deep breaths, pull it out as frequently as you can, and try not to be too reactive about it. If you're the mantra type of person, it's helpful to have mantras in mind for when these feelings come up. I do this with my kids all the time, just to repeat something over and over so that maybe it's a thought that comes up to help them cope. So you can look at a mess and come up with a mantra I don't know, just say oh, I'm so thankful for this mess. I'm so thankful for this mess. Or maybe your mantra is, it's really not that bad. Or this will take no time at all. Just think of the thing that helps you cope the most. A common one is, I can do hard things. Maybe it's really going to be quite hard work to get your home to where you want it to be. And yeah, say, I can do hard things. I actually prefer to say, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. That's the scripture in Philippians. Because when I say I can do hard things, it feels like I'm glorifying myself, whereas I feel more strengthened when I'm glorifying God. So maybe you want to pull out some scripture or a scriptural mantra might help you. Just some thoughts there. Breathe, come up with a mantra, and just get yourself to a point where you're not so reactive. So a messy home is so much about our perspective, okay? You really have to look at the mess, and this is something Mr. Tidbits has taught me, to just look at it and think to myself, is it really that bad? Will this really take me that long to clean up or to get feeling better? That is something that really can shift my perspective in the moment and allows me to just yeah, it's not that bad. I can do this. Just push up my sleeves. Even though it looks bad, it's really not that bad and it's not going to take that much time. That is helpful to just kind of shift your perspective so it doesn't feel like the sky is falling when your house is a mess. And then think about what a messy house actually means to you. Does it mean that you have a full house full of healthy children that are running around, making messes, exploring their childhood? Is that what your messy house means? Maybe having a messy house means that you have things in your life that are really important to you and they fill your home. Maybe that's something that you can be mindful of, that is why you have a messy house in the first place. Try to imagine how you would feel if that mess were not there. How would you feel if you didn't have to pick up those socks all the time? Or how would you feel if there were no muddy shoes at the doorstep? That would mean that those people or those things that mean a lot to you are not in your life. And those thoughts alone are very effective for shifting your mind to a state of gratitude, which is really the most perspective changing thing in my mind that can help you see a situation differently in almost any situation. And that is just filling yourself with gratitude for what you have, for who you have, for the fact that you're alive and in the moment and can do something about this. So just remember to be extremely grateful for that mess. And I think you'll be surprised how that can almost instantly change how you feel and decrease the overwhelm. Okay, here's something else for you to think about. Does a messy home make you feel overwhelmed because you are short on time? And for me, that is usually the case. I do have a lot of plates spinning and all those plates are usually full. And so when I see a messy home, I get overwhelmed because I tend to think like, oh, I'm going to need hours and hours to get this place back where it feels good to me and is functioning well. And that idea that I need so much time to clean my home is what actually like crushes me more times than not. But here's what I found to be really helpful with that mentality or maybe that kind of lifestyle. Rather than feeling like you need oodles of time, try just setting your timer. Chances are we can all find 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe even an hour on a good day to tidy up the house. And if you're just like in this mentality that I'm going to set a timer, this is all I've got, and I'm not going to go over it, you will be amazed at one, the pace in which you can clean and the kind of work that you can get done in that amount of time. Even a small dent into a messy home can make a big difference, can help you just kind of breathe a sigh of relief and be able to move on to the other responsibilities that you surely have as the keeper of your home. So try that, see how it works. Let me know how that goes. But it's been really helpful for me to just set a timer and say, this is all I've got, and I can make a big difference and feel much better about at least one space in this short amount of time. Okay, then this next thing, I just geek out about, you guys, because it's so fascinating to me. And you've heard me talk about the monthly cycle for a woman so many times, but it relates to how we can clean and how we can be a homemaker so much. And I have found that the luteal phase, this is a phase right after you ovulate, your temperature, your body temp actually rises and you get into this nesting phase. And I won't go into the science or the hormones that are doing all of this, but it is the longest phase of a female's cycle. And I think for good reason. It's actually can be one of the harder ones because people relate to signs of PMS and feeling stressed and anxious. That's definitely the case for me. I get most anxious and overwhelmed during the luteal phase. So I have to have a game plan to kind of cope with that. And what is amazing is where a messy home, like in the follicular or the ovulatory phase, may not bother me much, in the luteal phase, it really gets to me. I mean, my family knows it. I'm starting to like nag on them about their messes and just like get really overwhelmed. It happens every single time. But here's the thing, I have to know that it's coming, and I have to maybe be very mindful of why I'm feeling that way. Why right now is this home just feeling so overwhelmingly messy? And chances are it's because you're in the luteal phase and you need to address it. If you're going to ignore the messy home, I think those feelings of overwhelm are just not going to go away. So really address it. But what's amazing is in the luteal phase is also it's this nesting phase. So you have a greater capacity and desire to actually push up your sleeves and get going on this messy house. I find it to be my most productive phase, because it's just how my brain and body is working, and it's what it wants me to do. And so if you can plan to like do more of your deep cleaning during those 1 to 2 weeks of your luteal phase, be mindful of it. Take advantage of it. Your hormones are supporting you as the keeper of your home to be able to, you know, take care of this mess that is going to bother you in preparation for the menstrual phase where you're going to need to rest. It's really quite amazing. So super fun to learn about. If you want to know more, I've always recommended the book In the Flow. It's so good, and it really helps you learn how to live with your cycle and feel more balanced. Highly recommend that. And highly recommend you know, or at least maybe be more aware of those times of the months where a messy home is going to bother you more, so that 1, you don't feel like a terrible person when you start nagging on your family, and 2, so that you can prepare for it and just take care of it instead of maybe neglecting those needs. And this maybe leads me to my next thought. For you planners out there who really do like to plan your cleaning, I think that's great. And I like to do that in the sense that I set aside weekends for cleaning. I know Monday through Thursday, I'm cranking out a lot of work projects. I've got a huge focus on homeschool and of course dinners every night and meals. So I just have to let the housekeeping kind of go and then leave that for the weekends. That works well for me. So plan a day of the week or plan a certain week of the month, whatever works for you, to be more prepared for that messy home, so that during the times when you know you don't have time to clean it, you can just kind of set it aside and let it go and not worry about it. That can really help you cope with a messy life. However, when the house is messy, you're kind of actually past the point of planning, right? Even if you had well-laid plans out and the house is extremely messy, we're kind of too late for the planning phase. So rather than feeling bad that you didn't plan to keep a home perfectly clean all the time, just plan for the future. If you can't do it that day, just say, you know what, I've got a block of time tomorrow, it looks like, in my planner. I'm going to use that time to tidy up, and then just let it go. That really helps to just live in the moment and know that there will be time for these things that you need to do. Okay, next food for thought here. I think we feel overwhelmed the most about a messy home is when we feel like we have to do it alone. Do you agree with me? That thought always crosses my mind, no one else can clean like me. No one else is going to take care of this. Me, myself, and I have to do this alone. And that alone word is a trigger for me. I don't know why. I guess so many years that I did just take so many things on for myself, and it was extremely overwhelming. And so feeling alone in something that's overwhelming, it just makes the situation worse. So here's what I suggest. Don't do it alone. Okay, the odds are you did not make all the mess by yourself, so don't expect yourself to clean it up all by yourself. It's a novel idea, I know, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm the homemaker. I'm the best one at cleaning this house, whether I like that or not. I really am the one that can do it the best. And sometimes I just want to just do it myself, but that can be maybe what is leading you to feeling so overwhelmed. So get your family involved, get those people that live with you involved, and just accept what they can give you. Maybe they can't mop the floor like you do. They always miss the corners, or they don't pick the furniture up and get underneath it. You know what? If they just give something, and maybe you can teach them later on, but if you're overwhelmed, just have them help you get out of this hole that the house is in or that you're in, and just ease a little bit of burden. Really, anything that they can give is going to be somewhat helpful. Of course, if you've got toddlers or really young kids, maybe their help is actually detrimental to your progress. So keep that in mind. But, my youngest is 9, and all my kids can be really quite helpful to get me to a place where I feel better about the home. One of my favorite things to do, if I'm in the mindset to be able to handle this, is to just tackle a room at a time all together. So I tell all the kids, okay, we're gonna spend 10 minutes in the living room. You do this, you do this, you do this. And it's amazing like how fast it moves, and something about that togetherness can make everyone feel more bonded and connected, and it can be more fun. Throw on some music. We love to throw on, there's a podcast called Appleseed. It has so many fun stories that everyone in the family is going to enjoy. So like find something that makes cleaning more enjoyable. Of course, there will be the times or the child who's not being cooperative, but I have found that like letting them know we're only going to spend 10 minutes here together in this room. Even if it's not your mess, we're just going to team up and make this happen. I have found that for the most part, most kids are willing to help. And here is probably my best tip for you, okay? And don't judge. But if there is a child not cooperating, I am not above bribery, okay? I am not above that at all. Everyone wins. You get the house cleaned up and they get something that they would really enjoy. Maybe this is what I usually do. Like, hey, you kids, let's get this house clean, and then you can all watch an episode of Little House on the Prairie together. Okay, we actually really enjoy that. I don't let them watch TV during the week. So if they're helping me during the week, knowing that they get to sit down and watch some TV together with all their fun inside jokes, I find motivated children to help me. Maybe you can make up a dessert afterwards. Like, I'm not above bribery. It works so good to get your kids cooperating and helping. But that may not be for everyone, but it works like a charm for my children. So I'm doing it. But we do need to address, what if you have kids that actually get really overwhelmed by the mess? I do have a couple that seemed like the stimulation of the mess and kind of the overwhelm of the task ahead when we're looking at a mess, it can really trigger them and they kind of collapse and fall apart. So I have to make sure first that my attitude is not going to make that worse. When I start to nag and get angry and who did this and why is this out, that's like it's game over at that point. I'm not going to get cooperative children. But I find, like, especially if we're talking about their bedrooms and it's gotten to the point of really overwhelming, no one is going to win. If you just send them in there alone, maybe you're a little angry about the mess and then they're staring at this and just falling apart. Nothing's going to get done. So I have found it helpful, again, to do it with them for a little bit. Help them get past that point of overwhelm and make sure that your attitude is not going to make the situation worse. I know that can be so much easier said than done. At least for me, it is. And so maybe you've got some tips for us. You guys leave them in the comments on my video podcast on my Tidbits and Company YouTube channel. That's the best place to leave me comments for these podcasts. But if you have tips on children who just get really overwhelmed by it as well, please let us know. But those are the things, like, again, make it fun, turn on the music, the stories, and then just be in there with them. It's really going to be a lot better for everyone. Okay, then I had to bring this up. If your coping skill to dealing with a messy home means that you need to hire help because, maybe your kids aren't helpful, or maybe you're a working homemaker and you just don't have the time. If your coping skill means that you need to hire some help, do it. There was a certain time in my life, it was very, very difficult. I was doing way too much alone, and that is one of the things that I sacrificed and outsourced, and I can't even tell you what a difference it made. I only did it once a month, but like it was that deep clean, you know, like really scrubbing the bathrooms, really getting the floor clean. I could kind of deal with the tidying up through the rest of the month, but I could not find the hours that I needed to like give the house a good scrub down. And so I hired that out, and I had to make some sacrifices. We couldn't eat out as much, or, you know, I had to use my money for that instead of maybe buying fun things. But that was absolutely what I needed at that time in my life to cope with a messy home or keeping a home. And don't feel guilty if you find yourself in that situation at all. It doesn't mean that you're not the keeper of your home. If you're hiring it out, it actually just means that you're just finding the best way possible for you to manage the household, which makes you a homemaker, which makes you a keeper of your home. Even if, you know, you're not doing it yourself, you're finding a way for it to get done. So if that is your season of life, I say go for it. Now with my husband home and my kids older, I'm not needing that service anymore. We can manage this house. So there may just be a season of your life where you need that to help you cope with a messy home. But it is worth thinking that if you are too busy to clean your home as a homemaker, ask yourself why. Why are you too busy for this thing that is actually really, really important for keeping a home? And it can help you just reflect on your priorities. Maybe it means that you're like doing other projects or doing other work and you just need someone else to do that one. Maybe that one is cleaning home is the one thing you really don't enjoy, but you love the cooking, you love the menu planning, you love all the projects that are required, you love being a parent and being more involved with your kids, and the cleaning you don't. So, you know, just make sure you're like aligning your priorities up with this aspect of keeping a home. And for me, myself, especially at this stage of my life, when I asked myself, why am I too busy to clean my home? To me, it was a signal. Actually, my priorities weren't that straight. I was putting too much time into this area of my life when really, at the end of the day, or at the end of my life, keeping my home clean brings me a great deal of joy. So I needed to make sure that that priority lined up with the time I was devoting to it. So just food for thought there for you. You definitely know yourself best. And again, do not judge yourself here when you're considering this to anyone else or anyone else's lifestyles or priorities. This is all about you, your messy home, and your capacity. And finally, my friend, I really just want to end with some encouragement for you. It can be hard to see other homes, maybe on social media, or your friends' homes, or your parents' homes, and not compare yourself. But I want you to remember, every home you see on social media is not always clean. They're showing you their highlight reel. And everyone has a messy life. Everyone is going to have a messy home. You are not alone in this. And just remember, above all, be grateful and realize what a messy home means to you. It means that there is life, there is love, there is people, that you can move, and you have a home. That alone is enough to be grateful for. So I hope some of these tips were helpful and that you can come away from this podcast today feeling like you can tackle this messy home whenever it presents itself to you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to visit with you again. Make sure you're subscribed where you like to listen to this podcast, and then I will be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home.